5 monkeys are placed in a cage. A ladder stands in the center with a bunch of bananas at the top. The moment any monkey climbs the ladder, researchers spray all 5 monkeys with ice-cold water. The monkeys quickly learn climbing the ladder causes everyone pain. They stop going near it. Then the researchers turn off the water and replace one of the original monkeys with a new one. The new monkey sees the bananas, starts climbing, and the 4 original monkeys immediately drag it back down and beat it. No water comes, but the behavior holds. Replace another original monkey with a new one. Same thing happens. The new monkey tries to climb, the others stop it, including the first replacement, who has never been sprayed either. Replace them one by one until none of the original monkeys remain. The bananas are still there, the ladder is still there. No monkey has been sprayed in a long time, and yet every monkey in the cage beats any monkey that approaches the ladder. None of them know why. Nobody who was there for the water is left, but the rule survives. The story is told in management books, keynote speeches, corporate training sessions. It's been used to explain bureaucratic inertia, institutional blindness, the transmission of rules that outlive their reasons. That's the way it's always been done, is the punchline. The monkeys are us. The cage is every organization you've ever worked in. The experiment was never conducted. There is no published study, no lab, no ladder, no monkeys. Researchers have searched the literature exhaustively. The story cannot be traced to any real science. It exists entirely as a management fable, authored somewhere in the self-help publishing ecosystem of the 1990s, then recited as fact for 30 years. But here's the problem with debunking it cleanly. The phenomenon it describes is real, just not in the way the story tells it. In 1967, a psychologist named G.R. Stephenson ran an actual experiment on rhesus monkeys. The setup was different and more complicated than the fable. Monkeys were trained to avoid a food source through conditioning. New monkeys were introduced. Some avoidance behavior did transfer. The transmission was incomplete, inconsistent, and didn't work through the mechanism the fable describes. No one was beating anyone. But the core finding that a learned behavioral norm can pass from animals who experience the original conditioning to animals who never did held up in the data. The fable took something real, simplified it into a tidy story, stripped out the complexity, and then got cited as the real thing for 3 decades. That process is worth more attention than the experiment itself. Researchers studying chimpanzee groups have documented clear cultural variation between populations. Chimps in one region use a specific tool technique to extract termites. Chimps in a neighboring region, with access to the same tools and the same termites, use a completely different technique. Neither is obviously superior, they're just different. And when chimps from one group migrate into another, they typically adopt the local technique, even if their original method worked fine. Frans de Waal, who has spent decades studying primate social behavior, documented something even closer to the fable. 2 groups of vervet monkeys were trained to prefer differently colored corn, one group preferring pink, one group preferring blue, by making one color mildly aversive during the training period. Then, male monkeys were transferred between groups. Every transferred male, upon arrival, abandoned his original corn preference and ate the color his new group preferred, even though the aversive conditioning was long over, even though both colors were now equally palatable. The group's behavior was the information. The individual updated accordingly. This is not stupidity. This is an extraordinarily efficient way to acquire reliable information about an unfamiliar environment. If the group around you is doing something, it usually means the group has reasons. Those reasons may be encoded in behavior rather than accessible as explicit knowledge. The fastest way to survive in a new group is to do what the group does first and understand it later. Or never. The problem is that the reasons can expire before the behavior does. Solomon Asch showed this in 1951 in one of the most replicated findings in psychology. A participant is placed in a room with several other people, all secretly actors, and shown a simple visual comparison. A line on a card. 3 other lines of clearly different lengths. Which line matches? The correct answer is obvious, but when the actors all confidently give the wrong answer first, about 75% of real participants go along with the group at least once. Not because they can't see, because the group is a source of information about reality, a source that the human brain weights heavily, sometimes more heavily than direct sensory experience. After the experiment, participants gave different explanations. Some said they genuinely started to doubt their own perception. Some said they knew they were right but didn't want to stand out. Both responses point to the same thing. Social conformity doesn't require ignorance. It operates on people who know. The cost of deviation, even in a low-stakes lab experiment with strangers, is high enough that most people pay the price of going along. When even one other person in the room gave the correct answer, the conformity rate dropped dramatically. One dissenter was enough to break the spell. Now, remove the lab. Put a person into an institution, a company, a culture, a family system, where the norms have been in place for years, where the people around them have been conforming for so long that the original purpose of the behavior is gone, remembered by no one, and any new arrival who questions it gets the equivalent to being dragged off the ladder. Not with ice water, with social pressure, exclusion, the subtle signals that tell a person they are doing this wrong. You learn the rule before you learn the reason. Often you never learn the reason. Often there is no one left who knows it.
The monkey ladder story is a fabrication, but the organizations it describes are real, and everyone who has worked inside one has felt the shape of it. The policy that no one can explain but everyone follows, the procedure that made sense once for a reason that has since evaporated, but the procedure itself is still running, the thing that is done this way because this is how it is done, and the person who first did it this way is long gone. The fable needed 5 monkeys and a ladder to make that visible. The real version just needs a workplace and enough time. The monkeys in the cage couldn't ask why. They didn't have language. They couldn't interrogate the rule or trace it back to its source. They could only observe the group and update their behavior to match. The behavior made sense given their constraints. It was the rational response to the information available to them. The question the story was always actually asking is what excuse the rest of us have. Because we do have language, we can ask why. We can look at a rule, a system, a norm, a way of doing something that everyone around us follows without question, and say, what was this originally for, and is that thing still true? Most of the time, no one asks, not because they can't, because the group is running, and running with the group is faster than stopping to check whether the ladder is actually dangerous anymore. The bananas are still up there. They have been the entire time. The question is, which rules in your life have no one left who remembers why they started?